So, hello YouTube. It's your boy, Spencer Hiko Martin. Make sure you click that subscribe button if you like my content. With that being said, we're going to get you right into the tier list. Starting at the D tier, chat. Starting at the D tier. I think the widely accepted agent that is very rarely played, lowest pick rate across any agent, even in comp, not even just pro play. Also, I guess I have to say that this is not a solo queue tier list. This is a professional high level tier list. So I'm sure there's going to be some disagreements as far as I play X so and so in comp and she's the best. Well, this is not a comp tier list. This is a like a scrimming team play tier list. Anyway, starting from D tier, I think the obvious one, I have to put Viper in D tier. I personally don't think Viper is terrible. I actually still, just like my last tier list, I'm pretty sure I put Viper either in D or C of my last tier list. As of this latest patch and the last couple patches, they did buff Viper. They made her a little bit better, but teams still are not playing her. Teams are still like, in theory, she's good, but her ult is just not good. Her ult most of the time is a liability over. I feel like a lot of times it's you're actually putting yourself in a disadvantage using her ult instead of actually helpful ults. And maybe that's just most teams haven't really experimented enough with her and haven't got enough good things with her. But I do think that she's good in theory. But nobody's really playing with her. No one's really kind of unlocked her true potential. So unfortunately, Viper mains everywhere. Malding, Viper. Sorry, mains. Sorry, Viper mains. She's D tier. I don't think there's anyone else I would put in D tier. I don't think there's anybody that's on Viper's level of just no use. But yeah, Viper is alone with the D. Sorry, team. Moving on to the C tier now. This might be a surprise to some people. Especially some people think that she's not as bad after her latest nerfs, but I actually think Sage right now is C tier. I think her nerf to the wall, the whole reason why Sage was so good before was her ability to actually stall pushes and stall, being able to use your wall reactively. Forcing Sage players to put her wall up before a take is coming, dude. If you reactively put Sage wall somewhere, it's bad. It actually is bad. They just kill it. And then $300 is wasted. Her slow is still good. Don't get me wrong. Her slow is fine still. It's a little bit less. The AoE is less than it was before. Like a third less, which doesn't really matter. But I think that her heal being on a super long it's still the same cooldown, but the speed at which her heal works, and if you heal yourself, it's even slower. It's hard for me to stomach seeing. I actually don't think we'll see any Sages. I'm pretty sure the last EU tournament, nobody picked Sage. I'm pretty sure. I don't think maybe like one team picked her on like split or something. I don't even remember. So even in comp, you don't see Sages very often. I personally think there's just better agents right now. I don't think she's completely useless. I still think that both Viper, even Sage and Viper, both are not fully useless. But I think that there's just better agents right now that work better together. They work. They just are easier to play, and they end up being better in the long run. Synergy, thank you for the 5 satisfaction. There's the $10 take. I'm here for the tier list. This money, make sure you put Omen and S here. Thanks. Okay, dude. Medium B, thank you for tier 1, 26 years. Okay, moving on. There's only one other agent I'm going to put in the C tier, and I think that especially lately, with all the duelist comps we're seeing, I still think Reyna is C tier. I don't think Reyna is good. I think people that are playing triple duelist with Reyna are literally going the easy route of just having triple duelist. And I personally, I hate it. I hate teams are running Reyna because I think she's so skillless. Literally so skillless. There's no thought behind her. You have to get kills. Don't get me wrong. Her flashes are good, chat. Okay? Don't get me wrong. Okay, chat? Her flashes are good. I'm not gonna deny that. All of the Reynas, Reyna has her own place. But I think that as a duelist, I think Reyna is the worst duelist. I think all the other duelists have abilities that make them better than Reyna. I know a lot of people think that, you know, Tens plays Reyna now, Scream's playing Reyna now, but so what? Who cares? I still think that Reynas are just not very good. I think that, like, the fact that all of her abilities you need to get the kills to do it, like, that's fine, but I just think that I actually think every other duelist is better than Reyna. And I know that a lot of people that play comp and a lot of people a lot of Smurfs end up playing Reyna just farming you, but I still don't think Reyna's that good. I think that the teams that run Reyna, they just put their just heavy fragger on Reyna, but imagine playing your best fragger on a Reyna instead of like a Phoenix. If your Reyna main is getting 30 kills a game, I promise you your Phoenix is going to have more impact in a pro level than Reyna. I still think that if Reyna didn't have to get the kills, she'd be higher. And in pro level play, there's not really somebody you can count on to get those 20, 25 frags a game. Maybe Scream, maybe Tens are the people that break that. But in general, outside of those two players, I don't think she's good. I don't. I really don't. I know I'm telling you, I know people are going to disagree with me. That's why this is this is my opinion. This is not, you know, I'm not saying this is how it is. This is just my opinion. This is how I see the game. You can disagree with me. I don't care. I mean, I'm interested to hear why people disagree with me, but we'll see. That being said, we'll see. What about the snowball effect she has? Okay, again, don't get me wrong. I think Reyna could be good in the right hands if your Reyna is getting 20, 25 kills a game, I think she could be good. At pro level play, we're not talking about watching, you know, Tens just own random noobs in comp or Scream just running around one-tapping people. I personally think Reyna is the worst duelist. You can disagree, but that's my opinion. Moving on. There's nobody else I really think is C tier right now. And I know, like I said, I know people are going to disagree with Reyna because a lot of teams are starting to play Reyna again. But I personally just think that Reyna is the worst duelist out of all of them. Anyway, moving on to the B tier. The first person I'm going to put in B tier, the first agent, is actually going to be Brimstone. We've seen Brimstone kind of fall out of the meta. Very few teams are playing Brimstone. I know Angel from FPX was playing Brimstone. But in my opinion, Brimstone is, as a smoke character, in almost every single way, worse than Omen. And right now, the majority of teams play Omen. I don't think Brim is bad. I just think that for the roster and the meta that is happening right now, I think Brim doesn't really have a place. I'd rather have Omen. I see people are saying I like Omen on Bind, or I like Brim on Bind more than I like Omen. I actually think Omen is sick on Bind. I think that there's some things you can do with Brim that are good. That's why he's B tier. That's why he's not D tier. But I think that having a team flash like Omen is just too good to not have. Omen's one-ways are way better than Brimstone's. Sure, Brimstone has a molly, but Omen literally has a flash that can flash an entire team running up a choke point. Having an Omen play in U-Haul as a team is rushing you on bind, five person blind. It stalls an entire push. Having his ultimate for information, at least Omen, is like a lot of people right now. Again, the way the meta is shaping up and the way that teams are playing their defense side, Omen is an anchor. Brimstone cannot anchor like Omen. The reason why Omen is a good anchor is because of teleport. Omen can smoke, Omen can flash, Omen can teleport out. Omen can play passive if he wants to. What can Brim do? Molly a choke point, and that's it. He literally has no movement abilities. So I personally think Brim is starting to fall out of the meta for Omen, who is actually getting played as an anchor in bomb sites. As well as obviously your Sentinels, your Cringejoys, your Cyphers playing the other main bomb site. So that's my opinion. Again, I don't think people really disagree. I'm pretty sure FPX is like the only team that's still running Brim, especially NA. In NA, most of the teams right now are not running Brim. Most of the teams run Omen. So, yeah, Omen, in my opinion, B tier. Brim, in my opinion, B tier. Moving on. I'm gonna go ahead. Let's go with Cringejoy. I think that as a Sentinel, Killjoy has her place. I think that now, after a lot of people are kind of learning how to play around Cringejoy, and people know to kill her abilities, and especially in the pro level, again, I know I know people that play only comp, they're like silver, see Cringejoy, and they just think that she's insane. The whole reason people run Sova and the whole reason people run agents like Raze is to kill Cringejoy stuff at choke points. Everybody knows at the pro level to find the Cringejoy stuff before you plant. Everybody knows at the pro level, if you walk up to a choke point, you'll hear exactly where things are. And if you have a Sova, one Sova shot can kill all of Killjoy stuff. I think that she's better than C tier. Just because her turret is really overpowered on pistol rounds. I think it takes too many bullets to kill. I think in general, it just takes too many bullets to kill, which is why I think she's pretty good. But yeah, I don't see much value in Killjoy right now. She was pretty good when she first came out, when people didn't really know how to play around her. But now, I don't think she's that good. I think that people have found out how to play against her. I think that she's worse than Cypher in almost every situation. I just think that, yeah, she's just not as good as some people play. Is this for pro play? Yeah, this is for pro play. Steals Malding, that's fun. Anyway, moving on. Raze, B tier. I think she's not the worst duelist. I think in a pro play, I might put Raze on A tier. I just think that the people I have on A tier are just so good. Especially after the nerf they just did to Raze. Don't get me wrong, Raze is not useless. Right? I think I might consider putting Raze on A tier. She's somewhere between B or A. But especially at pro level, and again, chat, this is for pro level play. Raze is really only played right now on bind and split, and people are starting to not play Raze on bind anymore. I think her ability to make plays and use her ultimate to get kills and win rounds is really good. I think they are. But now that Raze's satchel doesn't do the damage instantly anymore, and now that people are having a pretty easy time of playing around Raze, I also think that Raze went down in value the second Sage went out of the meta. Because a thing that would happen to the pro level play a lot is you'd have these combos where Sage would slow, Raze would nade. And all of a sudden, Raze would do so much damage with her grenades. But right now, yeah, I personally don't think that Raze is that as good as she was. And I think that her grenades are pretty easy to just run away from. Don't get me wrong, you still are going to get nade kills, and her ult is still really good. But especially after all the nerfs to Raze, especially the ult timing, when you ult, you take more time to actually, go off. I think that a lot of Raze are just dying before they even get their ult off. So that's my opinion. Again, I don't think she's the worst duelist. I think she has her place in the meta right now. I just don't think she's that good. But maybe in the right hands, this is just overall. Okay, moving on to the A tier now. LOL chat thinks B tier down is useless. Like, dude, Valorant only has 12. Yeah, exactly. Moving on to the A tier now. As there's only what 6 agents left, so these are probably what I would consider the bottom 50%, and then here's the top 50%. You can see exactly. I'm sure you can use your brain and figure out exactly who's there. The first person I'm gonna put on A tier is Phoenix. A lot of teams play Phoenix. He's really, really good right now. The meta around playing a lot of duelists. He has flashes. He has a wall that could be used as kind of a smoke, which people don't really use that well, but it still exists. The reason why he's so good in pro level player now is that if you think about a good Phoenix, like think about Tens on Phoenix, right? Like I know Tens plays Jet and I know Tens plays Reyna, but if Tens played Phoenix, if he can get 2 kills and die every round, Phoenix would literally have Phoenix ult every 2 rounds, right? His ult takes 6 points. A lot of Phoenix players play the round early to farm orbs. And the more orbs you get and the more ultimates you get as Phoenix, his use goes up so much. The really good Phoenixes who have their ult every 2 or 3 rounds and they get 4 ults, 5 ults at half, it's crazy. Like, it's actually crazy. So I would definitely say Phoenix is A tier. I might even consider putting him S tier right now. Almost every team plays a Phoenix on almost every map, at least in NA. I think he's one of the best duelists, probably behind Jet. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I have to say right now. So yeah, moving on to the next A tier agent. I'll put Breach on A tier as well. I don't think he's S tier yet. I think he's good. I actually considered putting Breach on B tier just because of how often teams are actually picking him. A lot of teams still aren't even picking him. But I think his use right now is really, really high. I think it's really, really hard to get hit to dodge his ult now. He has 3 flashes. His stun is really good. In the beta, even before they buffed him, I thought that Breach was super overpowered. And then they buffed him even more to the point of you can't really get out of his ult if he ults you, right? Because it moves so fast. He has 3 flashes, which last the longest in the game. His stun counters the Jet nerds that just op every round. Because if you stun them, they can't scope. And his C, what's that called? Aftershock or whatever his C is called. I personally think it's good. I think people underrate Breach. I just think that the reason why I would consider putting him in the B tier is because still not many teams are playing him. The meta right now is like multiple duelists and then a sentinel and a smoker, right? A lot of people are running like Phoenix, Reyna, Jet, Omen, Cypher. So yeah, Breach it's hard to fit Breach into a lot of lineups, but I still think that he's really good, and I think that we'll see Breach coming back, especially if they end up nerfing Jet, because I think Jet will be I feel like Jet is going to be nerfed soon. Moving on, the only other agent I'd put A tier right now is Sova. I'm sure people are probably might disagree with this. I personally think Sova is S tier on Ascent. I think Sova is S tier on Bind. I think Sova is S tier on Haven. Maybe A tier in Haven, but I think Sova is not ever picked on Split. I think the only reason why I'm not putting Sova on S tier is because people don't play Sova on Split. In my opinion, it's Sova's worst map. It obviously, I mean, no team really plays Sova on Split. So I do think that he's S tier on some of the maps, but because he's not meta on all 4 of the maps, I don't feel comfortable putting him S tier. He's really, really good. He's really good at the maps that he's good on. I personally don't think he's that sick on Haven. I mean, the only thing you can really do in Haven is throw his arrows usually on executes, which is good, but I think that Bind and Ascent are Sova's best maps by far. So yeah, again, you're allowed to disagree with me. Have to uh you don't have to agree with me. This is my opinion. Also, I feel like the better players, especially teams that are running like Phoenix, Jet, it's kind of easy to dodge his ult. So you kind of have to you get kind of pigeonholed into trying to or funneled into trying to ult the same person every round. Like you want to ult the other Sova, you want to ult the other Cypher, like people who can't actually get out of it. So yeah, personally, I do think that Sova is S tier on some of the maps, but because he's not S tier on all the maps, I think that yeah, I don't feel comfortable putting him on S tier he's not if he's like literally like almost never picked on split. So moving on now. We see the last three in the S tier. We'll go one at a time though. Cypher, I think is easily S tier. Every team picks Cypher, every map. He's good in every single map. Almost every map he's picked. Almost every team picks him. Every single map. His ability to... He kind of forces teams. Right now, the reason why Cypher is so good is he forces teams to run Sova arrays. It's so hard playing against a Cypher if you don't have something to kill his trips. Now, especially if your Jet is opping, your Jet's not probably going to just dash in with her op. So if you don't run Raze or Sova, you literally have to walk around and find his trips. And it's so annoying. His cages are good offensively on attack. They kind of act as smokes. Defensively, it's good to get info with them. If people try to run through them, you hear them. A lot of Sovas use their cages for smokes as well, but the ability that Sova has with his camera to lurk is really good too. A lot of teams now are like getting aggressive with like they take early info and get their camera in like a weird spot where people don't know where it is. So personally, I think Cypher is S tier. She's picked by every team on every map. There's not a map that I think Cypher is not good on, which is why I put him above Sova. But yeah, I keep saying Cypher. I keep saying Sova, but I mean Cypher. Sorry. So yeah, Cypher, in my opinion, easily S tier. Every team plays him. Every map Cypher is played. And yeah, Cypher, the ability, his usefulness to a team is just kind of unmatched. Killjoy kind of can do the same thing. Killjoy gets a little bit more aggressive than Cypher does, but you know, I still feel like Cypher is just picked by every single team, and Cypher is still S tier right now, even after all the nerfs they did to him. Moving on, somewhere in my chat, Flexinja is just cheesing, just giant smile on his face, ear to ear. I think Omen is S tier as well. Omen was kind of bad early on. Omen was definitely eclipsed by Brim. The earlier metas of playing very slow and having, Sage Cypher change the meta a lot. Now that teams aren't running Sage anymore, I actually think Omen is hugely needed. I'm pretty sure every team plays... I'm not going to say every team. Most teams pick Omen as their main smoker over Brim. 99% of teams do. I think Omen is almost better in every situation than Brimstone, especially the way the meta is working right now, like I was talking about before. Omen is played as a bomb site anchor, which means Omen is a lot of times alone trying to hold off rushes and hold off pushes. Now, Omen has the ability to teleport around and play around his smokes. His smokes are bigger. He gets, technically, the longer your Omen stays alive, the more smokes he gets in around. His flash is really, really good for playing in solo bomb sites because he can literally flash an entire choke point. And his ult literally can be used to get info and rotate and plant the bomb on an A side. He's a good lurker because he can teleport around Cypher trips. So his ability to change elevation as well is really good, with his teleport. So I think right now his flash is the best in the game. He can flash an entire team if they're trying to run through a choke, and his smokes are better than Brim's because you can actually have Omen smokes that one way through inside of walls. Like Ascent, there's walls you can throw your smokes on that literally one way that you cannot with Brimstone. So in my opinion, Omen is also S tier. Now, the lady of the hour, our cringy Jet opping one tricks. it pains me to put Jet in S tier because I think as an agent, Jet is not S tier. But unfortunately, with the way the meta is working and the amount of utility that we have the uh, access to, and the way that Jets can use her abilities in a very aggressive way and get around smokes and over smokes and take very aggressive duels without even needing to feel any kind of pressure. Because if you get flashed, if you get jiggled, if you miss your shot, you can literally press one button. And if you're using default binds like I do, that button is E. You can press E and you get away for free. You can get aggressive with a free pick. You can play defensive with the free pick. You can push over a smoke. You can do your nerdy Jet things where you buy a shotgun and you dash into U-Haul and clear U-Haul with a judge. Like, ultimately, I think her ultimate is really, really powerful right now too. The fact that there's no damage fall off, the really, really good Jets are just super hard to deal with. She's super hard to deal with. I do think though that Jet promotes a play style that is not sustainable in the long term, because knowing that they're going to nerf Jet and or the op, if you have that hyper aggressive play style where you have no fear and you're abusing her movement and you're abusing the fact that she can get around and above smokes, I do think that Jet players and that playstyle will fall off eventually. I also think that especially once the op gets nerfed, if they are going to nerf it, then I think that a lot of the Jet players, I don't think Jet will be in meta for very much longer. I personally think that Jet players, I think they're going to find a way to nerf Jet to make her S tier anymore. I personally don't like playing Jet, but I personally also think that the Jet meta, I call it the Jet meta, but it's like the opper meta where you have a Jet op on every team, on every map, on every side, and you literally funnel your Jet and op every round. I personally think it's boring to play against. I think that another reason why Jet is S tier is her ability to throw one ways. You can almost one way any spot on the map from a safe spot, by the way, too. If you're good with curving your bullets, aka curving your smokes, you can actually just throw a one-way smoke for you almost anywhere. So, like I said, I personally think that the playstyle right now that a lot of the Jet oppers have, the hyper aggressive, go for those early picks through smokes, like running through a smoke, take an op shot, dash back out, you literally get a free shot. So I personally think that the Jet playstyle will fall off eventually. I think that teams really haven't found ways to counter her yet. And I was talking, Steel and Nitro were doing an interview the other day, and we were saying that I think a lot of the people that are very successful on Jet right now will kind of fall off because the second they have to play more passive, like I feel like in their brains, a lot of people they have that like single track mind where they have to play aggressive with Jet and they have to go for early picks and they have to get aggressive. But I think that, like I said, eventually, I don't think Jet will be as good as she is right now. And we'll have to see if on LAN it even exists, because it could be a thing online where, like, if your Jet just can shoot before the other person can even react. Like, I think LAN's going to change a lot of stuff too. But we'll have to see. I don't think Wardell will fall off. I think that the people, I'm not talking about like Wardell, Tens, or Ace. I mean, I think they'll find a way to not have to play Jet the way they do. Even if they play a different age, I think they're good enough where they don't have to actually only play Jet. But still, I think that the Jet playstyle promotes a bad playstyle. And I think that a lot of the lower tier oppers that are Jet mains, once she does get nerfed and they can't play the same way, I think that they're going to have a very hard time adapting. So with that being said, this is my opinion of my tier list right now. Again, the asterisk on this was pro level play. I know a lot of people are crying over Reyna being C tier. In my opinion, she's not as good as some people think she is. Even when she first came out in the beta or sorry, in when she first came out, people were like, "Oh my god, she's so overpowered. I'm silver too, and Reyna's just run rampant." Well, yeah, a lot of people smurf. A lot of people just play Reyna when they're playing solo just because she can heal, and all you have to really think about is just getting kills. You throw a flash, you swing with a flash, you get a kill, you use her abilities. I don't think she's as good as some people think she is. But yeah, I guess the big ones are Viper still D tier. Viper didn't really get enough changes, and she's still not seeing enough playtime on teams to put her above D tier right now. And then obviously, I don't think anything else is really in question. I think everyone kind of agrees. Breach might be B tier because teams aren't really playing him very much still. But I personally think that Breach is still really good. It's just in the current meta, he's just a little awkward. Because who do you drop for Breach? I don't know. Do Viper mains exist? Yeah, the Viper mains are like the people who have just mained Viper the entire time, pretty much. I know Mixwell sometimes plays Viper, but I don't think teams have really figured out how to use her yet. And I still think that her ult is a liability. Her ult can literally lose you with the like you could literally lose the round off of Viper ult. So do a tier list for comp. We can do that another day. Anyway, this is my final tier list. I know some people disagree. If you do disagree, maybe tell me in the comments why you disagree. If you say Reyna is not C tier, that's fine. If you think that Cypher is D tier, let me know. Just comment. And with that, that concludes the tier list. Screenshot it, hang it on your wall, and I will have to check out the comments once you guys disagree.